The WWE Draft 2023 is in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Night 2 has been concluded. A host more draft picks for Raw and SmackDown. And of course, Raw Talk also giving a host more names after Monday Night Raw went off the air. I'm going to give you the results and give you my reaction to it as well. And also recap over night 1 also. So let's not waste any time getting straight into it. The number 1 draft pick for Monday Night Raw on Raw last night was Rhea Ripley to start off night 2, the SmackDown Women's Champion. Obviously, it makes sense. Obviously, we have Women's Champions on different shows now, but the only thing is, I'm not a fan of them continually changing Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions around. I think it's time to rename those championships. Let's have the Women's Championship. Let's have the Women's Universal Championship. I think it's time for that because women's title reigns keep getting ruined in WWE because they change brands after the draft. Yes, it's going to make a fun stare down between Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, which I think is a long-term play for WrestleMania 40, but at the same time, the here and now, we need to make something where these championships don't get affected every time there is a draft. That being said, very happy for Rhea Ripley. I think she's deserving of a number 1 draft pick. She's an MVP on Monday nights right now with the Judgment Day. Little surprised Judgment Day wasn't drafted at the same time as her, but it just shows that Rhea Ripley is a standalone talent. She's a top talent, and WWE have high hopes for the booking with her over the next 12 months, perhaps even further down the line. The number 1 draft pick for SmackDown was the United States Champion Austin Theory. Great draft pick. Of course, they lost the Intercontinental Champion Gunther to Monday Night Raw, so they wanted that mid-card title on SmackDown. Breath of fresh air for Austin Theory, a new show to go on, and for me, I think he's going to be a standout over there. He's got plenty of talents he can work with, and yeah, he'll probably get himself to that next level as well towards the main event scene before the year is done. Many people's number 1 draft pick was the next one on the line for Monday Night Raw, Seth Freakin Rollins. A bit strange SmackDown didn't go for Seth Rollins. I've got to say that very quickly, but I suppose they wanted the championships. That's probably the way they'll get around that. Plus, Austin Theory is the long-term play. Perhaps just that little bit of storytelling, just that 1 or 2 lines that could have been on the podium would have been great just to explain some of the draft picks and why they were in the order they were. But I do like the way it was done this year with all the legends coming out making picks as well. But Seth freaking Rollins, for me, great he's on Monday Night Raw. It makes perfect sense. That World Heavyweight Championship is in his destiny. For me, he's the right person to be the first World Heavyweight Champion because Roman Reigns has not defeated him. He's the only guy that didn't lose to Roman, so it doesn't feel so much a consolation prize if Seth is to be the one. So for me, makes perfect sense. Looking forward to Seth remaining on Monday nights, and of course, his real life wife, Becky Lynch, is also on Raw, so I think this one was inevitable. Charlotte Flair was drafted to SmackDown. This needed to happen, in my opinion, after Bianca Belair was traded there, purely because we need to see that match. Bianca versus Charlotte. For me, I think it's a SummerSlam worthy match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We've been building this for years, it feels, with these two. Both of them have had incredible WrestleMania records. They've been in main events as well. And I feel that they've always been kept apart in the draft. So now it felt like the right time to bring them together. I think this is going to be the big time summertime feud for the Women's Championship over on the blue brand. Going on to round 2 then was the Unified Tag Team Champions Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. No word yet on what's going to happen with those championships if they'll ever be split up. I'm guessing for the meantime these guys can go on both shows, but having their home as Monday night makes the most sense for me. Of course, getting away from the bloodline after that long story. But for me, big fan of this pick, big fan of this move as well. I think the future is bright, and both of these eventually could work their way towards the main event scene once the tag team title reign is done. The Usos, on the other hand, went to SmackDown. Again, makes the most perfect sense as well. They weren't included with Roman and Solo Sikoa and with Paul Heyman, but that friction can remain on SmackDown. The bloodline started there. It needs to end there. This was the right move for the Usos to go to Friday nights. The Judgment Day then will call up Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio to Monday Night Raw. And let's be fair, Judgment Day, they are like the main stable on Monday Night Raw right now. SmackDown is very stable heavy. Judgment Day can stand out and stand alone, it feels, on Monday Night Raw almost. There's Imperium that are there, which will be a fun for you to have, and hopefully The Way will be a part of Monday nights as well. But the Judgment Day in the meantime feels like they are the stable right now for Monday nights, and well, they have been previously, so it feels right that they remain there. The LWO, Rey Mysterio, Zelina Vega, Santos Escobar, Cruz del Toro, and Joaquin Wilde all given to SmackDown. Again, it makes perfect sense for me for the LWO to be here. They're just keeping them away from the Judgment Day after this feud is finished. Rey Mysterio could not be on the same brand as Dominic. I do think inevitably we will get Rey versus Santos Escobar further down the line, but that's still a way away yet. I think there's some fun feuds you could have with the LWO. Like I said, there's the OC, there's the Brawling Brutes, the Bloodline, just to name a few of the stables that are over on Friday Night SmackDown. Moving over to round 3, the Women's Tag Team Champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This effectively makes them at number 2 and number 3 of the baby faces going forward when it comes to the Women's Championship on Raw. So yeah, I think this is the right move for both ladies when you look at that, and in the meantime, they can defend those Tag Team Championships on SmackDown. Looking likely the first feud for them will be Bayley and Dakota Kai, although long term I can see them facing Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, potentially even as soon as Night of Champions. Asuka was drafted to the blue brand of SmackDown, definitely one I predicted. One though, when I look at how the draft has played out, slightly disappointed, but I'm not going to lie to you. Asuka's already faced Charlotte Flair millions of times, just faced Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, she's faced Bayley numerous times before. I want to see some fresh matchups for Asuka. I felt the fresher matches were on Monday Night Raw, but still, Asuka, heck of a talent. We know what we're getting. Of course, these matches are always fantastic either way, so let's see how it'll play out. But one thing that is fun, she's on the same brand as Io Sky. I'm looking forward to when that match eventually does play out on WWE TV. The New Day were drafted to Monday Night Raw. The Raw Tag Team division was sort of lacking at this point, so the New Day, steady pair of hands to go over to Monday nights, made a lot of sense for me. Kofi, as well as a former champion, could go for that World Heavyweight Championship if he wanted to at some point. Xavier, potentially a breakout moment, have to wait and see. Former King of the Ring after all. Xavier probably will be flying the flag at first, as Kofi is currently out injured. The Brawling Brutes, the final pick of round 3, going and staying on SmackDown. I said this is very stable heavy, but Sheamus for me, he's had many matches with Gunther, he's had many matches with Drew McIntyre, so yeah, let's break that up and let's continue on what these guys can do with some fresh feuds and rivalries going forward. I eventually want to see Sheamus become an IC champion, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait that a little bit longer. Going into round 4, Trish Stratus being drafted to Raw made plenty of sense. She's been doing her craft on Raw anyway. Makes you feel like she's sticking around for the long term, actually being an actual draft pick to a show. But of course, with the feud with Becky Lynch, where else was she going to go? She went to SmackDown. It would just ruin the feud and all the work that they've started. So for me, made perfect sense. Karrion Kross drafted to SmackDown along with Scarlett. When you look at how many people are on Raw, this actually could be the right move long term, although I did feel Karrion Kross needed some fresh direction, and to move to Raw I think would have made a lot of sense because he doesn't get on TV every week on SmackDown. Maybe that protects him. We'll have to wait and see how it's going to play out, but Karrion, of course, currently feuding with Shinsuke Nakamura. That will conclude this week on SmackDown in Puerto Rico. I'm looking forward to seeing what the long-term play now will be for Kross moving forward. I did expect he would go to Raw, and seeing that JD McDonough had been called up, I genuinely thought that that was going to be the start of perhaps maybe Karrion Kross getting his own group. I mentioned it's stable heavy on SmackDown. I think Kross could do us some numbers to watch his back other than just Scarlett. Drafted to Raw, I mentioned them already, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. This makes a lot of sense for me. Again, that women's tag team division looks so much stronger now. Really feels like WWE has addressed this, this division. I'm really happy to see. This is exciting moving forward. Ronda and Shayna for me are going to be champions of this division, so more teams for them to work with. This will be great long term. And Ronda Rousey moving to Raw, of course, that's a big move in itself. And hey, it's got to be mentioned, Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch are on the same brand, so when they want to do it eventually, they can get Ronda back in the championship picture. They could even do Ronda Rousey versus Rhea Ripley, another match that I'd be really excited for, and I'm sure one day we will also get Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler, although like I say, the tag title reign makes most sense short term, so we can wait for that one in the meantime. But yeah, this makes perfect sense for me. LA Knight drafted to SmackDown. I did want him on Raw, I can't lie to you. I think he would have a better opportunity to get towards that top end of the card, but LA Knight for me, he's still a star in the making. I think as long as you get him the right amount of TV time on SmackDown, he has been getting over like Rover, and I think that momentum will continue for LA Knight moving forward. Going on to round 5 of the draft, Ricochet and Braun Strowman, the team going to Raw. It makes a lot of sense again to add some depth to that Raw tag team division. Braun Strowman could break away and go for the World Heavyweight Championship at some point if he wanted to as well. He's no stranger to being a world champion in WWE. And one other saving grace as well, this means we have a swap of the ring announcers as well, because Samantha Irvin is engaged to Ricochet in real life. She'll now be on Raw doing the announcements for Ricochet, for Braun Strowman, for Imperium. I love the way she announces Gunther. I think she's the best in the game, if we're being honest. And Mike Rome will head over to SmackDown to do his stuff there. So yeah, that's a trade for the ring announcers as well. No word to my knowledge if there's any on commentary at this stage. Shotzi has been drafted to SmackDown. I was surprised how early Shotzi's name come up. Hopefully I've got some plans for her because she was in the team with Natalya. They're now on different shows. I was hoping she would perhaps reunite the team with Tegan Nox. Spoiler alert, Tegan Nox does later end up being drafted to Raw after Raw goes off the air, part of Raw Talk. So let's see what they have in store for Shotzi moving forward. SmackDown has quite a stacked women's division, so fingers crossed she will not get lost in the shuffle. Bronson Reed remains on Raw. Perhaps could make sense to mention it's very faction heavy on SmackDown. Only 2 hours to play with. You want to get yourself some TV time as well. Bronson Reed may be a blessing in disguise that this guy's staying on Monday nights. He's been getting a lot of victories as well. I do feel now that it's very unlikely that he will win the United States Championship come Backlash. The last pick of round 5 in the draft, one of my favourite draft picks overall, Pretty Deadly going to SmackDown. Yes boy, these two fantastic in NXT, really thoroughly enjoyed their work. They know their characters to perfection, they know how to play them in all different situations. Former NXT Tag Team Champions as well on 2 separate occasions, had a great rivalry with the New Day towards the turn of the year. Honestly, I think that these guys, they got the mean streak in them with their last rivalry they had before coming up to the main roster. They're quite flamboyant, and I think that the way that the characters work, they remind me of an early Edge and Christian days after the Brood, of course. So I think that that's high praise for this team, and I think that they could go a long way in WWE because they, like I say, they stand out. There's something different. You're going to know when Pretty Deadly are on your TV screens, and I think you're going to be entertained by them as well if you're not familiar with their work. The last then round that was actually done on Raw last night, the Alpha Academy, leaving it late, but I tell you what, it's good to see they're on Monday nights. It's still in the same place as the Maximum Male models. The Creed brothers have not been called up as of yet, as I hoped they would be, to align with Chad Gable, but still, in the meantime, they don't need to come up just yet. I think we need to see the Otis story play out, to see if he will stay with the Alpha Academy or go to the Maximum Male models. There is mileage still in that storyline, and for me, I'm a big fan of both of these two, particularly Chad Gable, and for 3 hours on Raw, I imagine he'll get more TV time. So win-win all around. Rick Boogs is drafted to SmackDown. Shame he's not going to be around with Shinsuke Nakamura, but they must have plans for Boogs going forward. It didn't quite work out with his move to Raw. He was fine when he was on SmackDown previously. Let's see, will he get into the US Championship scene? Time will tell on that one. Of course, he's broken away from Elias now as well. Katana Chance and Kayden Carter called up to Monday Night Raw. I mentioned about the women's tag team division. These two have been, well, the longest ever women's tag team champions in NXT history, probably the longest running team in NXT history, maybe even WWE at this point. They've been together for a long time. It feels like this has been long overdue for these two to get the call up. Hopefully it works out for them. Like I say, 3 hours to play with, that will get them some TV time. The women's tag team division could do with some established teams that stick together no matter what, don't break up after 5 minutes. Chance and Carter will be a team that will be like that, they'll stay together, and of course they're best friends as well. So yeah, fingers crossed, all works out for them on Monday Night Raw. And the last one as well, Cameron Grimes to SmackDown. He's been MIA off NXT for a long time now. It's great to see that Grimes is back on WWE TV, and I'm hoping everything's going to go pretty well for him, if I'm honest. I mean, a match with Cameron Grimes and Austin Theory for me sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully it brings the money gimmick back. I'd like to see that. So that's the draft picks on Monday Night Raw. Now we'll go to Raw Talk, and of course, not everything's equal here. They're kind of just, a lot of talents have gone to Raw. We've got some NXT call-ups, but we'll start off here. Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross, and Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano having to wait that long to get drafted. That doesn't sit right with me, but of course he is injured at present. This is possibly why. Tamina drafted to SmackDown as well. For me, it makes a lot of sense with a lot of these picks. Tamina, of course, they could always do something Bloodline with her if they wanted to. I don't think they're ever gonna. Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross, spend more time on main event, but give them a chance. That's what I say. They definitely deserve some TV time on Raw. They've got a better chance of getting it. Also moving to Monday Night Raw, and I've only got this on a tweet. Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, of course, have been moved over to the Monday Night Raw roster. Great for the tag team division. Maybe they get some more TV time. Akira Tozawa stays on Raw. Makes perfect sense for me. Piper Niven also staying on Raw also. I was kind of hoping she'd move over to SmackDown, but hey, at the same time, I think that she's a dominant force when given the right sort of push, and fingers crossed that will continue on Raw. Xia Li moving over to Raw. She was definitely doing nothing on SmackDown, so this makes sense for me also. Same with Tegan Nox, who is now on Raw. Madcap Moss is on the Twitter handle, but it's now Riddick Moss and Emma moving over to Monday Night Raw, which again makes sense. There's so much going on SmackDown now with the factions over there. I can't see these two getting TV time without a move to Monday Night Raw. And I like the direction of what they were doing where Riddick, Moss and Emma, there could be a heel turn on the way. And I mentioned Dana Brooke earlier on. Reunite that team, Dana Brooke and Emma, because they work pretty well together in NXT. That would definitely give them something to do and definitely a purpose, because I don't see either of them going for the Women's Championship anytime soon. Also, we've got some free agents that were announced as well that can be on both shows. We know my feelings with this. First off, Brock Lesnar has given himself the opportunity to go whatever show he wants. But Brock is Brock. I guess that's the attraction. It makes sense. Elias compared himself to Brock Lesnar and Omos as well, who gets the same treatment. Sure, I feel the same with that one, if I'm honest there, Elias, but it is what it is. Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Baron Corbin, and Zion Quinn from NXT. All three agents can be where they want. It kind of feels with those guys there that they're probably going to play the jobber role. They've not got nothing really planned for them. I would have hoped Baron Corbin would have had somewhere as a base, especially after seeing what happened in Paris. It feels like that something started to click with that storyline, certainly with some audiences, so I'd like to have seen that play out and actually have a designated spot for him. But if it all continues to go wrong with WWE TV and then he can find a home, maybe he can get the Heath Slater treatment from 2016. That would be quite fun to see. Some NXT call-ups then to finish off. We've got Indi Cher, Jinder Mahal being returning to Raw, Veer is coming again, and Sanga make up that trio there. Fingers crossed all goes well for them on Raw. I do see him though being on the mid to lower end of the card at present, if we're brutally honest. Odyssey Jones also coming to Monday Night Raw. Very happy for him. No real sort of direction in NXT, and of course this guy was very popular with a lot of the NXT audience. He's certainly got a lot of character and charisma. It felt like maybe it was the right time in WWE's eyes to call him up. Like I said, he's been in NXT for well over around that 2-year mark at least anyway now, so it feels like the right time to give him a shot at the big time and see how it goes. And last but not least, it could be a sleeper pick. What I'm surprised really, it was left until Raw Talk for this one. Grayson Waller to SmackDown. Honestly, keep your eyes on Grayson Waller. I think this guy has the potential to be a breakout star in WWE. It's someone that I think could be there for years and years to come. This guy talks, people listen, and people hate him. If you have the ability to make people hate you that much, you are doing something right and you will make money in that company. Barring any injuries, Grayson Waller for me potentially has the potential to be a top star in WWE for many, many years to come. I expect he will start on the lower end of the pyramid, if you will, but I think he'll work his way up. And I think SmackDown could be the right place for him. Perhaps they could renew the feud with LA Knight that they did in NXT. And also, when you have Miz TV on Raw, you can have the Grayson Waller Effect show on SmackDown. It's current, it's up to date. It's kind of like that live going on Instagram or your TikToks. For me, Grayson Waller has that kind of modern feel that could connect with a younger audience as well, even though he's meant to be a heel. So yeah, for me, this one is definitely one to keep a lookout for. So that is your night 2 there for your WWE draft. Overall, quite pleased with a lot of these. Thought a number of the SmackDown ones did stay put. There are some people I'm disappointed didn't move shows, or a couple, 1 or 2 that I thought perhaps shouldn't have moved. Oscar being one that I felt shouldn't have moved. Karen Cross, LA Knight, I would have liked to have seen move. But at the same time, all in all, this roster's felt far more fresher than what they did before. This was needed to freshen things up, and it is so good to see. And for those that haven't seen my night 1, we'll go through the names, but I'm not going to give you my opinions on them. You can go and check out the video that'll be sort of tagged at the end of this video to find out my reaction to night 1. But for those that are just wondering, night 1, drafted the SmackDown to kick things off was Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman. The top pick for Raw was Cody Rhodes. Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion, moved to SmackDown. We had Becky Lynch, of course, remaining on Raw. The Street Profits, of course, were actually drafted to SmackDown from Monday nights. Imperium moving to Monday Night Raw. Like I say, with Samantha Irvin. Just going to say very quickly, go into Raw. I get to hear her say Imperium and Gunther. For me, it just, it's music to the ears for me. Edge moving over to SmackDown. We've got Matt Riddle staying on Raw. Bobby Lashley moving over to SmackDown. Drew McIntyre moving to Monday Night Raw. The OC moving to SmackDown. The Miz staying on Raw. Damage Control moving to SmackDown. Bayley and Michael Cole, yes please. Shinsuke Nakamura moving to Monday Night Raw. We've already seen how that started off with Tiny Balls Miz as well. Alba Fine and Isla Dawn called up from NXT to go to SmackDown. And Indi Hartwell called up as well to go to Raw. Be interesting with those women's championships, of course, especially the tag team championships, which have been defended on NXT by 2 teams that have been called up. And of course, as well, we had the supplemental draft as well, and that includes the Viking Raiders being on Raw, Dexter Lumis, Candice Lerae, the Maximum Male Models, Zoe Stark, JD McDonough, Apollo Crews, Natalia, Sonya Deville, and Chelsea Green. And for SmackDown, Hit Row and Lacey Evans. And that is pretty much everything apart from the other free agents that we got, which was Omos, MVP, Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ali, and Von Wagner. So that is your WWE Draft 2023 in the books there for you. Overall, like I say, it freshens things massively up. I'm looking forward to seeing there's plenty of NXT call-ups, like 18 in total. The rosters feel a lot more bloated, but I tell you what, it means that people will not be overexposed. Hopefully, people will be able to be on TV once every couple of weeks, and hopefully it keeps storylines fresh. They can do some real long-term storytelling and direction going forward. And for me, I'm quite happy with it. I think there's some exciting feuds we can see come out of both shows. Just to quickly touch on Monday Night Raw, the likes of Cody going against Gunther or Drew McIntyre. Same for Seth Rollins as well. The fact that Brock Lesnar probably be on the act as well with that World Heavyweight Championship at the start could be quite interesting to see also. Like I said, I mentioned Imperium versus Judgment Day, something I would like to see go down. Looking, with the women's division as well, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, something I want to see. Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan, hopefully can get towards the top end once again. I'd like to see that also. And on SmackDown, Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles. We need to run it back. Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley, something I really, really want to see. And if we look at it as well, I mean, with the women's division, I said Asuka versus Io Sky seems an exciting one. Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair, another one I really, really want to see. And faction warfare, there is a lot of stables on SmackDown. The Braun and Brutes, OC, Bloodline, LWO, so much going on. So yeah, give it to me. I'm ready to see how the rest of 2023 plays out, and hopefully they've got ideas already put in place for Money in the Bank, the Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania next year. But that's all from me anyway. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, then please do consider hitting that like button. It really helps this channel a lot. Leave your comments what you thought of the WWE Draft in the comments below as well. We'd love to hear your opinions. Also subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and also keep an eye on the channel as well. Backlash predictions will be dropping tomorrow on the channel. I'll be going live tonight as well to discuss more of the WWE Draft, hopefully the visions going forward, and of course there'll be a special Backlash Q&A on Friday as well. All will be live streamed. But that's all for me. Thank you for watching. As always, look after yourselves and each other. I'll see you next time here on YouTube.